On tonight's Top Gear, Dream On, White Van Man, Ford's Rally Transit, Trade Secrets, Confessions of a Car Salesman, and the best new car you can buy for under £6,000.
In a symbolic gesture, this is what the Phoenix Consortium paid BMW for Rover. Yes, a tenner, a crisp tenner, 10 of your English pounds. Ford, on the other hand, paid £1.8 billion for Land Rover. Who would have thought one word would make such a big difference? Absolutely shocking, the price of land these days, isn't it?
Yes, the bigwigs at the Blue Oval were absolutely delighted to spirit such a well-known brand away from BMW. But Ford got a company in serious disarray. Land Rover was a mess, and getting it shipshape again was going to cost much more than they'd bargained on. Take the Range Rover, the off-road king, but bedeviled by reliability problems, and discoveries weren't much better either.
While the Freelander has enjoyed a topsy-turvy existence since it first appeared in 1997. Topsy, because it very quickly went on to become Europe's best-selling sport utility vehicle. Turvy, because sources within Land Rover claimed there were 134 separate build quality and reliability problems. These included faulty gearboxes and a flexing body shell. Of course, the tragedy is that Land Rovers are very impressive when they're working properly. So, will the steadying hand of Ford improve matters? Only time will tell. But 6 months after the deal was done, the first clues are just in. The Freelander turbo diesel and the V6.
Contain your excitement, if you can. I know they look just like the current Freelander, but there's much more to them than meets the eye, thank goodness. Or else neither you nor I would be hanging around here for very long, would we? Anyway, the V6 sees the Freelander move upmarket to woo fat American buyers and snobby Japanese ones. So it gets an auto gearbox, heated leather seats, cruise control, and parking radar. Well, what self-respecting off-roader can survive without these things?
None. But far more important than all the tinsel and the toys, the Freelander now has a heavily revised front end, which makes it much stronger and therefore far better to have an accident in. The brakes and the suspension have also been upgraded. There's a revised air conditioning system and a far more sophisticated wiring setup. No, come on, don't be like that. This is all very important stuff, you know.
Because if Land Rover is going to survive, day-to-day ease of use has to improve. Well, we'll see about that, won't we? But is there any day-to-day driving enjoyment?
Yeah, the Freelander has always been one of the best so-called soft-roaders. And with this 177 bhp V6 engine fitted, it's now got some real welly to it as well. I'm not so sure about this Steptronic transmission business though, so you can feel like Michael Schumacher as you drive across Silverstone rather than round it, I suppose. But otherwise, well, it handles and rides exceptionally well, it really does.
But is anything going to fall off it on the way home from the Land Rover dealership? Less stuff than would have been the case a few years ago. Sure, the door is still shut with a tinny clang, but the rest of it feels pretty solid. Once upon a time, you could have sailed a large battleship through the panel gaps in a Land Rover. Not anymore. BMW's clever 2-litre turbo diesel has also found its way into the amphibious-looking Freelander, to the obvious benefit of fuel economy. It'll average 15 miles per gallon more, although it's not far off the V6 for sheer pace. It also cruises very comfortably at motorway speeds. So, on-road, things are looking up. And off? Well, they've ironed out the problems with the flexing body shell. It might also amuse you to learn that some early Freelanders had a glitch that left them with drive to the front wheels only. Equally amusing is that many owners simply didn't notice. Well, you wouldn't in Hampstead. With all four wheels doing their thing properly, the Freelander remains shockingly competent off-road. Ground clearance is good, traction plentiful. And remember, that more robust wiring means that Land Rover's clever hill descent control system should work more reliably now.
Land Rover might not be making all that much of a song and dance about these new Freelanders, but both the V6 and the turbo diesel are very impressive. They add a vital extra dimension to the range, but more significantly than that, they offer proof that the problem child might finally be growing up. And remember, the last time Ford bailed out an ailing British marque, it was the seriously dysfunctional Jaguar back in 1989. And it's not doing too bad for itself these days, is it?
For as long as there's been cars, there have been car salesmen. But while cars have changed a lot, the salesmen haven't. Their main aim is still to get you to buy from them instead of someone else and to turn a profit.
But it is a dog-eat-dog business, so over the years, the car trade has developed a whole range of psychological techniques to give them the edge over you, to persuade you, once you've come into the showroom, to stay and pay. But the trouble is, you're not meant to know these tactics. It's like being on a stage in a play, and you're the only one who hasn't seen the script.
This man, though, knows his lines backwards. Peter Holt has been a car dealer for 8 years and is an expert in the art of customer persuasion. But now he's written a book revealing the secrets of the car salesman. You may plead poverty when you walk through the door, but the salesman isn't listening. He's looking.
What we're trying to establish here is, can you afford the car without actually asking you the question directly?
Right, so what are you making me?
We look at things like shoes, trousers, watch. Well, you've given us away immediately with a smart watch, so we immediately know you can afford a nice car.
If he's going to sell you a car, the first thing a salesman must do is buy your time.
That is hot.
That's on purpose because we're trying to buy 10 minutes of your time. The other reason is that it's a gift and you feel a little bit obligated because I've just given you a free coffee.
Well, I've had better gifts, but... Oh, God knows. I've had better gifts, but this is considered a gift, yeah? You've given me something.
That's right, and now I want something from you.
The test drive may seem like a random trundle around the streets, but for the salesman, it's a shortcut to a better deal.
Right turns are particularly difficult to negotiate, and of course you're in a new car. So when you get to a situation like this where you're going to turn right now, you're most likely to be asked a question like, so how much do you want for your part exchange car then?
Oh, well, that's... Because, yeah, here I am going... Why have you done this? Why have you written this book?
Well,
Giving these things away?
Yeah, I wrote the book really because I felt concerned for clients. When you go and buy a house, you go and enlist the help of a surveyor and a solicitor. When you go and buy a car, you're never taught anything about the streetwise nature of negotiating, buying and selling. So we're not trying to say that you know that the goods are defective or anything like that. What we're saying is this is the tactics that a salesperson will use, and here's a way of combating them. Know what you're up against.
At the end of the drive, a shrewd salesman will always make you park the shiny new car next to the old banger you came in, just to get those desire juices flowing a bit more.
Questioning is really, really important, isn't it? Why?
Well, there's two types of question. There's an open question, questions which start with who, what, where, when, why.
Yeah.
And then there's a closed question. Tell me, do you, will you, should you, could you? A classic example of a really closed question would be, does your wife know that you're having an affair?
Oh, no, I'm just thinking it
But
through,
if you answer yes or no, you've incriminated yourself immediately.
If I say, yes, I am having an affair, then I am saying I'm having an affair. If I say no...
You're still having an affair, but your wife doesn't know about it.
I'm not. So, I won't answer that. So give us a car showroom version of that.
Well, how about if I said to you, when would you like to take delivery of this car, on Thursday or Friday?
Oh, bugger.
With a wife, for instance,
Right.
you would ask to try and understand whether she's interested in the purchase. You would say, would you like to stay here while we take the test drive?
You can't say that.
Well, immediately then you find out whether she's really a decision maker in the buying process.
The salesman may tell you he's involving the sales manager in the negotiations, but in truth, the big man's day is rarely disturbed.
Let's say the customer wants £500 off. I go around the back, I probably won't see the sales manager, come back and offer £100 off.
Yeah.
Do this several times and it wears the customer down. By the time you get to £300, they're finished.
Once you've bought the car, it's time to buy the extras, and yet again, Peter has a neat trick for squeezing a few more quid out of the deal.
Well, I don't just give you this list. I'm going to say to you, obviously you want carpets and mud flaps, and what don't you want?
So I've already spent, like, how much?
£100?
Nice.
Peter reckons that 2/3 of punters end up buying a different car from the one they went in for, so his advice is simple. Don't be British. If you want a discount, ask for one. And if you know how much you want to spend, don't keep it a secret, tell him on the spot. That way, you'll avoid the salesman's pantomime.
Still to come on Top Gear. Cheap, but not nasty. New motors for under £6,000. Press and play steering wheel gear changes. And delivery guaranteed. Ford's Supervan.
Nowadays, thoughtful multinationals are stripping away the trimmings to give us, the public, some long overdue value. You can save yourself a few quid on food by going for the stuff that comes in black and white boxes. And you can now fly for 20 quid without having to sponsor a fully licensed food trolley. You've got a ticket to Amsterdam, please. And if you want a car that will start, stop and move all on the same day, there are a gathering band of contenders under £6,000.
Not everyone will have heard of Perodua. So you may not know they're from Malaysia and responsible for selling the cheapest, most miserable car in Britain, the Nipper. However, in October they launched a second car over here which aimed to change all that by being a little more expensive.
The Canary is a mini MPV which Perodua claims has world-class design. And in a funny way, it has. Not just anyone can come up with something that looks this special, but Perodua have dug very deep to come up with this. And you can't knock what you get for the £5,925 asking price. Central locking, twin airbags, power steering, CD player, rear wash wipe, electric front windows, 2-year warranty, balaclava, change of identity.
Performance is an irrelevance, but you may as well know it comes with a 1-litre engine which Perodua describe as being cheeky.
Which actually means you've got to thrash it to within an inch of its life to get anywhere. Performances don't come much more cheeky.
Every one of your 3 mates will fit into it, and so will a bit of shopping. So there you go, job done. It goes, it stops, it's got airbags. If it had the looks, then life on a shoestring wouldn't get much better than this.
But it's not quite that easy. Not when you can get a racy Fiat badge and Euro-friendly styling for the same money.
This is the revised version of the Fiat Seicento, which will be available in UK showrooms from the beginning of January. Starting at £5,870, it looks every inch the Euro City slicker. It's no less basic than the Canary, but it's altogether more streetwise in its approach.
The revamp has given it larger bumpers, clear lens covers for the indicators, and a circular Fiat badge. Whoopee-doo. The thing of real importance is the new 1.1-litre engine under the bonnet.
Again, performance isn't a priority, but it is quicker than the Canary, and you can actually convince yourself, shifting through the 5-speed gearbox, that it's fairly zippy.
I quite like this basic no-frills interior. It's neatly laid out without feeling too cheap. We've got power steering, driver's airbag, and even the luxury of a rear wash wipe. As before, it does everything you need, but this time behind the more acceptable face of Euro motoring.
But there's a problem. Attached to the price tag is a £675 on-the-road surcharge, taking the Seicento above our £6,000 limit.
So what's the alternative? Back to Asia for a Wendy house on wheels? Not quite, because if you're after a cheap new car that doesn't immediately say budget, it comes in the shape of the Citroën Saxo First.
That's right, this tidy-looking French hatchback has recently been chopped by £1,000 and can be yours for £5,995. And for that, you'll get a perfectly acceptable 3-door, which won't have you hiding under the dashboard as you chug through town. You can't describe this new 1.1-litre engine as potent, but it is the quickest. 30 miles an hour is a reality, and 60 miles an hour a distinct possibility. And of the bunch, this is the one which most readily lends itself to motorway driving. It doesn't distinguish itself inside, but the interior, for the most part, is inoffensive. Oh, I forgot about those seats. But it has room for 4 adults and comes with driver's airbag and radio cassette. I've actually got quite a lot of time for people who buy cars like these. I mean, when it comes to town driving, who are the real monkeys? Those who buy cheap, small, practical cars, or those who buy big V8 off-roaders? The Citroën Saxo First does it all for the money, and you won't have to skulk away from it in the car park. Mind you, if you're thinking about buying any of these cars, make sure you've pulled first.
The new Daihatsu Sirion is the latest arrival on the super mini scene, with this top-of-the-range F-Speed model on the market at £9,995. It shares the same 1.3-litre engine as the Toyota Yaris. And it has something in common with this Ferrari 360 Modena, which will set you back a full £100,000 more. No, it's not the fact they've both got 4 wheels, nor the fact they've both got doors and roofs. No, what these cars both have is Formula 1 style steering wheel gear changes. It's a fast-growing fashion in the car world and a trend started by BMW tuning specialist Alpina back in 1993. But do they give a real Grand Prix experience? The Alpina models, of which this B10 is the latest, simply have buttons on the steering wheel that electronically activate the 5-speed automatic transmission. Down on the left, up on the right, but it's hardly an instant change. The Sirion works on the same sort of principle, and so does similar offerings from Aston Martin, Audi and Porsche. But when Rover produced their Steptronic MGF, they came up with a different approach. You see, the MG doesn't have a normal automatic gearbox. It has one of these clever, constantly varying CVT systems, which continually alters the final drive ratio while keeping the engine revs in their optimum range. To turn it back into a manual, they then pre-selected 6 ratios, and you have to use these sort of frog's eyes to jump it from one position to the other. But it still changes gear very much like an auto. And with the CVT still chiming in when it changes down, it sounds like an auto with clutch slip. No, this is no nearer the F1 experience. It's still quite obviously an auto pretending to be a manual. Whereas this Alfa 156 seller speed isn't. It has a proper manual gearbox, and these little buttons send electronic messages to hydraulic shifters that change the gears for you, just like on a Grand Prix car. So, does it give a true Grand Prix experience? Well, almost. On the up change, it's a little bit sluggish. And if you leave it in a low gear and sit it onto the rev limiter, it will change up automatically for you. But the real fun can be had on the down changes, because then it's got auto blip. It's very impressive, but it's still got buttons and not panels. And only one car's got those. The Ferrari. I really am in F1 heaven. I can pull the pedals and change gear just like Michael Schumacher. OK, I've only got 8,000 revs instead of 18,000. I'm still in 6th at 130. And then when you downshift, that blip is just heavenly. The panels are beautifully touch sensitive. It hardly needs an ounce of strength to make them move. It just feels right. And when you need your hands on the wheel, when it's slippery, it's the perfect place to have a gear change. The only trouble is, you don't usually need reverse in a rush in a Grand Prix car. Now, where was I? No, on the public roads, I'll go for the manual option every time and enjoy doing all that blipping for myself. And on this Ferrari, I'd save £6,500. On the Alfa, I'd save £1,500, and even on the little MGF, I'd save a full £1,000. I reckon the only real place for a Grand Prix style steering wheel gear change is in a Grand Prix car.
We're not finished yet. Look, the Transit transformed, the ultimate white van. And before that, our occasional snapshot of the life and times of motoring legends, the Top Gear Autobiography.
The Alfa Spider was introduced at the Turin show in March 1966. Certainly, when it first came to the UK and was put in the showrooms, queues formed immediately and sales were really very brisk. I think I'd have to say it was a ballet dancer. Superb poise, balance, and, well, that sums it up, I think. The best example will cost you £12,000 if it's a long-tail Spider, or £10,000 for a square-tail Spider. I think it still looks fresh, it looks sharp, and up until '93, maybe towards the end of its production, it started to look slightly heavy, but I think it's stood the test of time extremely well.
The Alfa Spider was a very important car for Alfa. I think they went through their problems financially, and the model carried them through some very bad times.
Keep on running, keep on hiding.
The first Spider was called the Duetto, and that name came around because Alfa held a competition to try and establish a name for the car, and the name Duetto was picked. But they had to drop the name because apparently that name was registered by a biscuit company in Italy.
Keep on running, running from my arms.
I think the most important thing to look for when you're buying an Alfa Spider would be obviously the rust. Otherwise, you know, the rest is like any car of that era, you know, it's pretty simple to maintain, but the rust would be the biggest problem.
I bought an Alfa Spider because I wanted something that was completely individual to me, something that I wouldn't see anywhere else on the road. The car's got great personality. I mean, the actual front of it looks like it's got a face. There's the eyes and the mouth and the logo in the front. The main characteristics of the Spider have got to be its driving position. It's low to the ground. It's a very nifty car on the road, fun to drive, light handling, with a real kind of elegance to it. It's a very reliable car, it never lets me down, starts pretty much first time every day. The car's definitely lived up to my expectations. It's really good fun to drive, it's great to look at, I feel really special every time I drive it.
1, 2, 3. White Van Man was ecstatic when Ford launched the new Transit earlier on this year. It was friendly to the environment, more economical, but most importantly, it was faster. And it had comforts like aircon and an airbag. But Ford didn't think it was enough. I think they've gone slightly mad. Hold on to your tracksuit pants, White Van Man. The Ford Rally Transit is here. This pet project was built by rally nuts at Ford, who usually prepare transits for forecourts, not special stages.
I'm Paul Wilson from Ford. I'm responsible for this unique one-off carbon fibre Kevlar front splitter.
It's got all the latest safety features.
I'm Gary Cuthbert from Fords, and I designed and built this roll cage for the World Rally Transit in my spare time. It took me 28 hours.
It's got all the right rubber.
Hi, my name's Alan Banks from Ford. I designed these one-off super sexy wheels for the World Rally Transit.
And to sit on, well, they've been a bit naughty.
My name is Nick Watson. I work for Ford Motor Company, and I nicked these seats from McRae's World Rally car.
Straight from the Ford stand at the motor show, this is strictly a one-off, so I must be careful. But of course, last year's Network Q special stage at Cornbury Park took Juha Kankkunen 2 minutes 51.8 seconds. Jeez, what took him so long? It's got more torque than a Ferrari 360 Modena. It'll hit 60 in under 8 seconds and go on to 130 miles an hour. I am not kidding. It is a beast of a car. Flying through the forest, you can really feel the harshness of the lowered suspension. It jumps and bounces all over these stones and potholes, but so it should. It's a rally van. Oh, this is such a hoot. Big 16-inch discs backed up by ABS will lower the speed pretty quickly with a little more help from the electronic brake distribution. The mud. In the back, there is enough room for your mates. A picnic table, a bed, ensuite bathroom, a granny annex, and, oh, Judy Finnegan's bra. Its rigid body aids cornering, razzing round the bends with remarkable agility. And even though it's over 9 feet high, there's little body movement. It is amazing. Onto the tarmac stage. It just sits in the road so perfectly. It really is incredibly easy just to place and to turn in. It's so crisp. It's wicked. It's not quite as crackly and snappy as the proper World Rally cars, but by Jove, for a van, it does the job. Oh my God! Right, I need some braking. Than many cars I've ever driven. And to be honest, I might just have it over a supercar. It's that good. Oh, come on, you dancer! Oh. I have never had so much fun on 4 wheels. Ford's one-off Rally Transit is a belter. It is so much fun and such a serious bit of kit that I might just make a late entry into the Network Q Rally. There are still 16 special stages left. Co-driver?
Next week, high revs or low-down grunt, beefed up Celica versus Astra Turbo. 40 years of Cosworth power. And Blues and Twos, a day out with Dennis.
It's getting hot in the World Rally Championship. Tiff Needell previews the final stage tonight on BBC Two at midnight.